my beautiful subscribers, and welcome to La Ebony Tarot. So today I wanted to focus on the subject of like love and well, mainly the fear of love that people tend to have, and my confusion about being afraid of love. Like, I just don't get it. Where that concept actually comes from, and my experiences from speaking to actual individuals who have like said this to me. And yeah, I kind of just wanted to basically kind of just touch on this whole subject of like love being a scary thing. People are afraid to fall in love. People are afraid of love itself. It just doesn't make any logical sense to me. So yeah, we're just going to touch on that subject today. So if that's what you are interested in, listening to, I mean, you'd know because it's titled that, but you just have to kind of like reinstate certain things. So firstly, I'm going to give an example of commitment, right? One time I was speaking to this guy on IG. This was like years ago, and because I used to do like a lot of videos like this. It's basically about relationships on my IG, so I used to get a lot of people DMing me, but surprisingly it was men that used to DM me over women. Like, men used to DM me all the time and used to say to me that I should have like a podcast and talk about relationships and stuff. And there was this one guy, and we were talking about marriage, right? And he said to me, he was basically saying that he was afraid of marriage. So I was asking him, okay, well, why are you afraid of marriage? Like, what is it about marriage that frightens you? So he kept on saying things like to me, I just don't see why it's okay for like women to be able to have the right to take all your money and to strip you of everything that you've worked for and blah, blah, blah. So I said to him, okay, but why are you afraid of marriage? And so he repeated the same thing, the women get to take all your stuff, if you have you have to have a prenup, this, that, and the third. His whole concern about being married was basically a woman leaving him and taking him for his money, his home, and all his possessions. So I said to him, that's divorce. I was like, that's not marriage. I said, divorce is a product of not a product, sorry. Divorce is a consequence and a result of a failed marriage. But I said, but that's not marriage. You haven't explained to me why you're afraid of marrying someone. You're explaining to me that you are afraid of divorce. But that's got nothing to do with the sanctity of marriage. Like, so I'm going to ask you again, why are you afraid of marriage? So he kind of thought about what I said, and he was like, you know what, you're right. Like, I'm actually fixating on the fact that someone's going to like leave me and take everything from me. So I said, I don't think your fear is marriage, because you haven't described to me at any point in this conversation as to what marriage and being committed to someone, what scares you about that. All you've told me is that you're afraid of somebody divorcing you. So obviously you have insecurities within you, and the only way you would be so certain that your marriage is going to end in divorce, because every time I say marriage to me, your response is divorce. That's two completely different things. So the only way that would make sense is that you have an insecurity inside of you where you're going to do something that breaches your marital contract, and therefore will result in divorce, which will then result in all your things being taken away from you. So I was like, your beef isn't with marriage, your beef is with divorce. But really the beef is within yourself, because why would somebody leave you? And when because the thing about marriage is, what people don't understand is marriage is a contract, and it's not actually as easy to get divorced as you think it is, which is why there's a lot of people that are actually separated, but they're not legally separated. Because first of all, that both marital partners have to agree to sign the document. So if your partner wants to be a bitch and wants to claim you and doesn't want you to sign the documents, then you can't get divorced. I mean, you can have what is it called, an annulment, I think it's called. But like, you basically, in order to get married, you have to have breached the marital contract in some type of way, or you both have to be in agreement that your marriage isn't working. But it's not easy, and it's really expensive. Okay, so it's not just easy for people to get divorced just like that. Now, a feasible answer, I would say, in terms of me asking why are you afraid of marriage, would have been something like, the idea of being with someone for the rest of my life, It's fearful to me. It's, I don't want to be entrapped. I don't want to have to share my assets, because, once you're married, everything, you become one. You share bank accounts and things like that. So that would be make more sense. Like, the person is afraid of sharing and just feeling like they may be trapped to the wrong person, because sometimes you can, we already know when you date someone, they're not how they were when you first started off. So I can understand that, somebody being afraid of marriage, because they're afraid of basically being trapped with like a psycho, or somebody who's selfish, or somebody who's not what they thought they were when they first got together. But that's not at all what he was saying to me. His whole reasoning, sorry guys, his whole reasoning for not wanting to be committed was his fear of divorce. So I said to him, that's something to think about. You're basically you have a fear of abandonment, because when I say marriage, you hear divorce. So that needs to be rewired. You need to think to yourself, why do I keep associating marriage with divorce? That's not what the sanctity of marriage means. It's not about union, and it's not about wanting to share and spend the rest of your life with this person and build an empire. And do you know what I mean? Like, you're not talking about marriage and commitment itself. You're just talking about divorce and it ending really badly and you being left with nothing. So when I think about love now, again, when people say things like, they're scared of love, when you actually ask someone, okay, well, why are you afraid of being in love? Why are you afraid of being in a relationship? A lot of the answers I've heard is like, people are afraid of being hurt. Again, that's got nothing to do with love. Love does not equate to pain. So what people are not afraid of love itself. People are afraid of people hurting them. People are afraid of being in pain. People are afraid of things not going their way, but they're not afraid of love. A feasible answer for that, in terms of like what would actually make sense of being afraid of love, would be someone saying something like, oh, someone being kind and loving and compassionate and affectionate towards me, caring about my well-being, doing nice things for me, doting on me, that makes me uncomfortable, that frightens me, that freaks me out, so that's why I'm afraid of love. That would make sense, because they're actually describing the attributes of a loving person. But saying things like, I'm afraid of being hurt, or I'm afraid of cheating on, or I'm afraid of this, those are not acts of love. And I think that is the misconception in this world, that people have the energy of love confused with pain, drama, distraught, disarray, deception. Those are in their own arena. That's got nothing to do with love. Now, if you think about a loving relationship, say, you're in a relationship with someone and you're loving, you're doing all your part, but they're not treating you right. And then, you break up with them or whatever, and you're just like, or you have an argument and you're like, you know why I'm so hurt? Because I would never do that to you. Why would you never do what the other person done to you? Just think about it for a second. Because you are operating from a place of love, whereas the other person isn't. So because you love that person, or at least you think you do, you're associating your love for them and their pain that they're distributing to you as their form of love. That's not love. So you're not afraid of love, because love is beautiful, love is wonderful. This is why you are the loving person, and you've done something. You've not put your partner in a position to be upset or distraught. You haven't hurt your partner because you love them. So you're not afraid of love, because that means you would be afraid of you wouldn't be a loving person if you were afraid of love. Do you know what I mean? If you were afraid of love, you would then be afraid to display and to show love. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So think about it. When someone is being less than kind to you, or when somebody's not treating you right, they are not operating from the love frequency. Now, I'm not saying that they don't love you, because in some cases, people can lie, I guess, if they love you, but they're not in love. I don't really believe that love is if someone's treating you like shit, they love you. That's not love. That's control, attachment, abuse. It's everything but love. But because a lot of loving people have been with abusive people, or they haven't been taught love, or they haven't come from like loving homes, and their conception, like their idea of what love is just distorted, they get confused, and then they become afraid of what they think is love, but really they're afraid of pain. It's just as simple as that. And I think some people, when they get into relationships with actual loving people, I think they become afraid, not because the person is caring, but because, you know, when you're used to being around deception, or when you yourself are a deceptive person, you know that, like, you only do things for the benefit of yourself, or you know that your experiences with deceptive people, they're only nice when they want something. So again, the fear comes from, am I being deceived? It's not to say like, oh, this person is being really loving, I don't trust them. It's more like, are they being for real? But again, a lot of people that think like that, a lot of the times it's either they've been put in situations where they've just continued to be they've continued to kind of be broken hearted and things like that, or they themselves are deceptive people. Because deceptive people, liars, cheaters, manipulators, people who strategize in relationships, that's their way of thinking. So they think that everyone thinks like that. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? They don't operate from the love frequency, therefore they don't understand it. So, you know, and if they, like, if I'm coming to a relationship to manipulate you, and I know, okay, in order for me to get what I want, I need to be nice, hella nice to you, and you're being hella nice to me, then I'm thinking, okay, well, are you a manipulator like me? And then it's kind of like, okay, well, what's really going on here? Do you know what I mean? Whereas, like, if I'm a loving person and I come into a relationship being loving, I'm going to think from a loving perspective. So when you're doing something nice for me, I'm not going to think, okay, this person's manipulating me, this person. I'm not going to think the worst. I'm just going to think they're doing a nice thing for me because they love me, because I would do the same thing because I love them. So, you know, everything is I always say that people think from their own level of perception. So if you have a perception of a certain thing, that's how you're going to think about it. If your perception of something is low, you're going to think about it from a low perspective. If you are on a high frequency, or you operate from the love frequency, that's how you're going to see things. This is why a lot of loving people get really hurt, because it's kind of like rare, like, I wouldn't do that to you, or I'm actually operating from a love frequency. So like, I wouldn't even imagine that this whole thing was a lie or a scheme or a trick, or you didn't really love me, because I don't think like that. I just think I love you, you love me, we're being loving towards each other. Do you know what I mean? So when you get hurt or you get betrayed, it's kind of like, right, okay, what? Do you know what I mean? You can't comprehend it, because you are not a backstabber. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? And then there's so much people, they're afraid of showing love, because anytime they have showed love, it's resulted in betrayal, or it's resulted in being ghosted, or, do you understand what I'm trying to say? It just hasn't gone your way. But a lot of the times, you know, the relationships don't work out is because people are not healed. They don't see that there's anything wrong with them. They don't feel like they need to work on anything. They don't want to be loving. A lot of people, they want love. They want the best versions of other people, but they themselves are not prepared to be the best version of themselves. People have a very selfish mentality. I want you to love me and look after me and da-da-da, but like, why do I got to do that for you? Because that's going against cosmic law. That's why everything needs to have balance, you know? So, the fear and the beef isn't with love. The fear and the beef is with pain. The fear and the beef is with people who are not healed. The fear and the beef is with trauma. The fear and the beef is not with love. Okay? Because I'm so sick of hearing that narrative, like, oh, I'm afraid of love, I'm afraid of, what the fuck do you have to be afraid of? Like, that's what my Venus placements are saying. Like, why are you afraid? You know, because I'm kind, because I'm caring, because I love you, because I'm devoted to you, because I'm committed to you, because I'm loyal to you. Why is that scary? What is scary to me is abuse, somebody taking advantage of you, somebody being less than kind to you. You know, then you've got the people that stay in relationships with abusive people, because again, they have a distorted perception of love. Just my neighbors, like, just a few seconds ago, I had to record this video about 3 times, because they were arguing, and like, there's like domestic violence and all shit going on. So I didn't want you guys to be able to pick that up in the video, because if I can hear it, I think you guys might be able to hear it. So I had to redo this video, but they are a classic example. There is no love in that household. You know, and I always think to myself, I don't understand why people stay in those types of connections. Like, it's like, oh my God, my partner keeps cheating on me, or my partner keeps beating me up. What do I do? Leave. But I love them. So you love this person. What do you love? I don't understand. What do you love? Because they're not kind to you, they're not loving, they're not caring, they don't give a fuck about your feelings. They're going out cheating, lying and stealing, beating you up. I'm confused. What do you love? I mean, I'll wait. And someone, like, I've been in abusive relationships. I've been in 2. And each time I escaped, because to me that wasn't love. You know, I would say, like, why are you behaving like this, or why are you operating like this, or why? And you know, the manipulative and abusive people, they are so, like, I can understand when it's, like, hard to get out of, because they are very manipulative people, but I cannot be manipulated. Like, it's just not part of my DNA. Like, I attract the most manipulative and the most cunning people you could ever imagine. And they can never get one over on me. And they don't understand it, because I am actually Venus. Like, the divine has sent me to you in order to teach you what love really is. Because when you try to play me, you play yourself. You can't trick love. I know what love is, therefore you can't trick me into, like, you can't trick me. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So, and then what happens is, when they can't trick you and they can't manipulate you, it's either they run or they try to control you and entrap you in some type of way. Because it's like, wow, you know, you're so loving, I don't want anybody to get hold of you, or I'm just going to run away because you've realized my schemes or my tricks. Why do you think manipulative people go towards loving people? They don't go to people like themselves, because they know that they are not the product of love. Who wants to be around what abusive person do you know that's with another abusive person? I'm just saying. Sometimes you turn into your abuser, and that's when the relationship turns really toxic, when you're both fucking beating and shit on each other. But normally they prey on loving individuals, because they can't get nurturing and loving, and they can't get loyalty from someone who's just like themselves. So, you know, but I never understand that, why women or men, because, you know, sometimes it can go the other way, but why people, should I say, stay in low vibrational relationships. It's called trauma bonding. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? And that also demonstrates the lack of love that you have for yourself, at the fact that you're allowing yourself to stay in a situation where somebody is going to continuously disrespect you. Now, I know, like, if you have a lot of Venus placements or Virgo placements, we tend to be fixers. So, you know, you can feel energetically that this person needs healing. They need love. So sometimes you stay because you want to try, you're trying to fix them. It's like, I can see the potential, they're almost there, but that's not your job. That's not your job. And when you accept that, you know what, this person has got issues and there's nothing I can do to change that. You know, I can love someone to death. It's not going to make them love me back, or it's not going to make them love themselves enough to become a better individual. They need to figure that shit out on their own, and they will. But you staying is not going to force that person to be who you want them to be. If anything, you are enabling their behavior. They think, well, I don't need to change because you keep coming back, or you're staying, you're putting up with my bullshit. Unconditional love does not equate to unconditional tolerance. And this is what I always say to people. You know, we have been programmed to believe that. I even said in my last, one of my last readings, my channeled message about the misconception of the number 13 and Friday the 13th. Friday is Venus Day. If you look at the days with the planets that they are ruled by, Moon Day, Mars Day, Jupiter Day, which is Thursday, Mercury Day, which is Wednesday, Sunday, which is the day of the sun, Saturday, Saturn Day. So Venus Day is Friday, the day of love. The number 1, the highest manifesting number. Okay, when you see 1111, you know shit's going down. Okay, so that's a really magical number. Then you got the number 3, which is connected to the Ascended Masters, the Holy Trinity. So you put those numbers together. Also, I think the number 3, I'm sure, is ruled by Jupiter. Okay, but that number is a very lucky number. It's a very powerful number. It's connected to God, goddess energy. So it's the best time for you to be able to connect with your ancestors, to connect with the Ascended Masters, to connect with God, to connect with the energy of Venus, and to manifest or to pray, or whatever you want to do, you know, harness the energy and the power, that is the best day. But of course, they made Friday the 13th. They don't want you to know that it's a godly, holy Trinity day. So what they've done, well, this is my theory anyway, is that they made you fear that day, because obviously, as we said before in one of my posts and in one of my older videos, the opposite of love is not hate, it's fear, but hate comes from fear. So they want you to fear Friday the 13th, because then, because you know, that's energetically programming you. And that's why people naturally think that they're afraid of love. You're afraid of Friday the 13th. That's the best way to make anyone afraid of love. You're afraid of Venus Day. You're afraid of the Ascended Masters. You're afraid of connecting to divine power, because the love frequency is the highest frequency. You can look in all scientific books. It will always come back to the love frequency or the Venus project. I'm telling you. They know that that is the highest frequency. So in order to combat that, they teach you to hate it. So everyone thinks that the Friday the 13th is a bad number, and then they put things on the TV, like horror movies and all scary things. So now you are operating from fear on the day of unconditional love, because to me, that's what that day means. I love when Friday the 13th comes. I go to town on my sacred space, on my altar, because that is when unconditional love, the energy of unconditional love, is at its finest. So of course, they're going to teach you to hate that day. And for those that are not woke, for those that don't really understand shit, they don't know. Now they're just automatically saying Friday the 13th, oh my God, I hate that day. Oh my God, something bad's going to happen. Obviously, our mind is powerful. So now we are manifesting. Remember, number 1 and 13, we are manifesting as above, so below. So now we are manifesting, because, you know, they say that the number 3 is also connected to Lucifer. So now we are manifesting hate. We're manifesting fear. We're manifesting misery. Therefore, if you have a bad day on Friday the 13th, that's because you created that day, because of your low perception of what that day actually means. So now you're thinking it's Friday the 13th, I'm going to have a bad day. You have a bad day. They do not want people to know how powerful that day is. So they transmute the day of unconditional love to the day of the abundance of fear, the day of bad luck. That's how they trick you. Like, honestly, this is why I love information and knowledge. Like, people will be scared of the number 6 when 6 is also connected to Venus energy. You know, if you look in the tarot, you have the 6 of Cups, the 6 of Pentacles. They're all good cards. Wait, 6 of Cups, 6 of Pentacles, 6 of Wands, 6 of Swords, yeah. The number 6 is, you know, to do with domesticity, family, home life, love. It could talk about soulmates as well. Gifts from the universe. It's a very loving number. But, you know, as above, so below. When you flip the number 6, it's the number 9. Now, 9 is connected to Scorpionic energy. When you see 9s, that's when you should be afraid. Every time I used to see 1919, I used to, I knew that a job was coming to an end, or a relationship was coming to an end. Something would always end in my life. So I used to be afraid of that number. But now when I see it, I've changed my perception of it. I just see it as something is going to end in order for something to begin. So I don't really fear that number anymore. But I used to fear whenever I used to see like 1919 or 9s and 1s. I'm like, oh my God. But not when I see 6s, because I have an understanding of numerology. But, you know, a lot of numbers, they have several different meanings. So again, it's the way that you look at something. Because, you know, when they say that we create our reality, it's like cliche to say, because you hear it so many times, but that's what they mean. The mind is really, really powerful. And if you know about yourself, like, my mind is really powerful. I've got Pisces in my 9th house, cusped in the 8th house. So my mind is extremely powerful. And then in Vedic astrology, I'm sure I'm like a Cancer rising or something. But like all my water sign placements in, you know, astrology, I'm up there with the ethers. So I have to be really careful about how I think when it comes to certain things. You know, I've actually been in relationships with people back in the past where I've kind of like suppressed my spirituality, because, you know, I don't want people to be afraid of me. But it comes out, because, you know, you can't you can't hide the truth. Like, I remember one of my abusive exes I was with, one time he said to me like I was a witch, because I had predicted something. And remember back in the day, I never used to use cards, nothing. You know, this is just mind power. I don't even need to use cards in my reading. It's mainly for decoration. But I think he was gonna go on holiday, and I remember saying something because he was such a horrible person. I remember saying something like, you know, you're not gonna, the flight is gonna get cancelled, or you're not gonna get to go, because you don't deserve to go, or da. We was having an argument about something, but I remember I said something negative about his trip. And then I remember one time he came home and he was like, oh, you know, you're a witch, something happened, I can't go on the trip, da. What did you do, or whatever? And I'm just like, well, I told you that something bad was going to happen, because, you know, you're fucking with karma right here. But people don't be listening. People don't be listening to me at all. They don't understand that, like, I'm a very powerful person, and if you mistreat me, you will face the consequences, but you will have no idea that it's connected to my energy because you're ignorant. You know what I mean? I say that to people all the time. Spite produces the worst karma, and to be spiteful towards somebody who is made up of karma is absolutely crazy. It's crazy. But yeah, anyway, going back to the whole, you know, being afraid of love, it's not love that people are afraid of. They've just programmed you to believe that love is something you should be afraid of. Therefore, you don't operate from it. Therefore, you don't share it. Therefore, you don't give love. Therefore, you don't love yourselves. Like, you got these people out here who are melanated, bleaching their skin because they have no real education of the melanin, the power of your actual skin, and how rich your skin actually is. People don't know about the fact that our hair stores our wisdom. The Afro is a symbol of ancient wisdom. Locks is a symbol of connection to your divine roots. Read up about the sanctity of Afro hair. But people be out here perming or wearing them disgusting lace wigs that's been, you know, has got so much trauma in it because it's human hair. You're putting someone else's human in European hair on your own head. Why? To try and look beautiful? Who told you that Afro hair wasn't beautiful? Who told you that brown skin wasn't beautiful? Oh, wait. Who programmed you to believe that shit? If you read up about yourself and you actually learn about yourself, you will be embarrassed that you ever tried to strip away your richness, because the wealth is within you as people. The more melanated you are, the, like, you don't understand, you are like a god in the making, man. Imagine walking around and knowing that your skin is worth more than gold, and gold is what, like, countries and shit fight over. Gold is what people walk around and be like, yeah, what's good? Gold jewelry is precious. Like, gold, people use gold as a symbol of, like, royalty and wealth and richness. But it's like your melanin itself is worth more than gold, like, in value. Like, that is a scientific fact. But of course they teach you to hate that because they don't want you to know how valuable you are, and they want you to strip your natural nutrients. They want you to take all of that shit out of you so that you yourself become worthless, and then you start to strip your knowledge. When you're putting chemicals in your hair and shit, you're stripping you're taking away your wisdom. And that's why people make dumb decisions and they go in the same cycles over and over again. And they think, okay, yeah, I'm gonna get my titty and my butty done and get loads of men to like me. And then they just run through you. Now you got several kids for several different baby daddies or several different baby mothers. There's no respect there. There's no value there because you don't value yourself. I mean, I can split this several thousand different ways, but, you know, I'm not trying to offend people here. I'm just trying to spit truth. But the fact of the matter is, the beef is not with love itself. And the more people that learn to love themselves, they will understand that. The more people are not afraid to show love and demonstrate love and be supportive of one another. But people can't do it. They can't do it. People hate it when I call out people on my channel for not loving and not supporting, because they know they're haters, but yet they still stay on my channel. Because you have beef with love. And if you have beef with love, that means you have beef with me. Because I am she. I am Venus. I am Black Venus. Like, people don't know how to accept love. They just don't know how to accept it, because we live in a world, in a society that operates from hatred, greed, lust. lower vibrational energy. So anybody who's trying to raise the vibration, anybody who's operating from a different frequency gets rejected. Because it's like, you're going against our plan. You're going against what we're trying to do here, which is enslave humanity. We enslaved you guys in shackles back in the day, but now we're trying to mentally enslave you, because as they know, the power is within the mind. So if they can fuck up your mind, they can fuck up your life. Period. So yeah, the beef isn't with love. So I really need for people to stop being afraid of love and being accepting of love, because this is why you're not attracting loving relationships, or why you're not realizing or understanding why things are not going your way, because you've got something very misconstrued, or because you don't genuinely love yourself. You have to look in the mirror and look and say, you know what? I love myself. I'm beautiful the way that I am. Yeah, you can enhance your beauty in so many different ways, but to genetically modify what the divine gave you, unless you have like a health condition where you need to fix something, to genetically modify what was already given to you that's beautiful, that's a serious problem. That's a serious insecurity. Okay? People fear nature and natural things, and a natural thing is love. To love is natural, to hate isn't. In my opinion, I feel like hatred is conditioned. Like, even when we were talking about the Friday the 13th, that day was conditioned for people to hate it, but energetically. Now, there are some people that just operate from the lower frequency, and they're just hateful naturally. And, I'm not saying that there isn't. Some people, they're just born with hate. But a lot of the time, people hate things because they can't obtain them, or because they can't have them, or, that's what it is. But again, then that goes back to love. You love what you hate. People hate that they love you. Sometimes that's what it is. The very people that hate you try to look like you. Like, you're trying to look like me, but then you don't like me. So that doesn't really make any sense. Do you know what I mean? Just think about it. The people that you say you hate, you try to look like. Like, if we go back to the melanated people, so many melanated people want to look European, but if a European does something that a melanated person does, they take offense. Oh my God, those Beckys and this, that, and the third, and they want to start cussing everybody from different cultures. Well, then stop trying to look like them then, because now you look like a jam fool and you're not making no logical sense. But it's the conditioning, the psychological trauma that we have suffered from years and years. It's really hard for people to break out of it, because they simply don't want to educate themselves. Because it's a lot of work. I've seen people talk about like natural hair. Oh my God, it's so much work. It's so much work. That's your crown. Anything royal and regal requires maintenance. But you want to cheapen yourself by doing things the easy way. Okay. Does it make you more regal? Does it make you more beautiful? Does it make you more worthy that you've got additional things on you to make you look more beautiful? You're just cheapening yourself, because you're using someone else's beauty to enhance your own. That means that you don't see any value. There's a video on the Chad people in Africa that use chebi powder, and their hair's like all the way down to like past their bums, longer than any white person's hair I've seen. Blacker than me, African ladies. They even say it's not genetics, because they don't add the chebi powder to the front of their hair, which doesn't ever grow. It just grows to a certain length. It stays short, but the rest of their hair's long, because that's where they add the chebi powder. Because in a lot of traditions, they see hair as beauty, fertility. Hair is really ain't like, there's an ancient you just need to research about hair, man. But you can see in certain tribes that haven't lost their roots, haven't lost their traditions, they know how to look after their hair. And they know, like, if I wanted to grow my hair that long, I could. You know what I mean? It's just about maintenance. My hair has been at its longest, I think it was like about 5 years ago, when I used to just do wash and goes all the time and put so much moisture in it, to the point where and because my hair's like, when it's curly, it looks really short. So I don't actually know when my hair's growing unless I blow it out. I didn't use any heat on my hair for 6 months. When I was blow drying my hair, even my mom said, how did you get that long? My hair's like, my natural hair, I think I'm not even going to turn all around, because, I don't want people to think I'm trying to, but it's literally like middle of my back. You see where my hand is here? That's where the longest part of my hair goes. Like, my hair is really long when it's blown out. The front is like about here, but the back is really long. But like, that took maintenance. I had to keep maintaining it to get it to that length. And I can have like a long ponytail and but I like my hair short and curly. I don't have anything to prove. I can say to people like, yeah, my hair's long as fuck, and I know they don't believe me, but then when I blow it out, they're like, oh my goodness, is that weave? Isn't it? Did you add something? No, I didn't, bitch. I just understand the value of hair, and I understand how to grow it, and it's possible for us to do, but we have been conditioned and lied to and told that we can't grow long hair, or it's genetics, or it's got nothing to do with that. Everything is maintenance. It's like a relationship. You put in the work, you will succeed. Period. But everybody kind of just wants, I don't know. I don't even know. Because I really get confused. I get confused with what people say. I get confused with people's ideologies. I just feel like everybody is backwards when it comes to a lot of different things. But all I wanted to say is that the beef is not with love. The real beef is that there isn't enough of love, and that people, like I say, don't operate from it. They don't understand it. And there will be no changes in this world unless people start operating from the love frequency, and unless people start looking at love from a different perspective and stop equating love to pain. And that's even like pissing me off now, so I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna let it go, because they're doing something in the garden there. But but that's even a symbolism for distractions. I'm trying to talk to people about love, and now this. Because this is what happens when you're in a loving relationship, or that you are supposed to really be together, where there's so much love and passion between you and a person. Next thing you know, there's obstacles, there's hatred, all types of things are going on in your relationship to stop you guys from being together. Because the power of the love frequency is powerful as fuck, and they don't want you to know this. But people give up because it's just easier. It's easier to succumb to hatred and spite and just to do bad things. It's just easy, but the consequences are everlasting. So think more loving, think from a more loving perspective, and really understand what love actually is, and try to recognize it. Think to yourself, what, how many loving people have I actually had in my life? How did I treat them? Did I recognize it as love at the time? Who was the person that I kept going back to? Were they the most abusive one? Why was that? Do you know what I mean? Do the work. But stop saying that love is scary, because it's not. Love is beautiful, and it's the best thing that you will ever experience in life. Okay, and that's all I have to say about that. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and I will see you guys in other readings. Okay, toodles, goodbye.